Hey, team players, and welcome back. Today we are discussing the Miami Dolphins, and we are not pondering retirement. We actually want to be here, and we're not going to give notification basically 8 hours before the draft that we're showing up. We're here all the time, local football flavor. But that's the elephant in the room here, Bob. This team is going all in, going and get Ramsey, getting all of their shiny pieces ready to go for next year, and their quarterback wasn't even sure he wanted to play. And they did not address that fact at all. Aside from the fact he's not a good quarterback, which Tua is not, they didn't address it. So when we look at this, you have the Ferrari of the receivers. You're going to win September and October and be the best offense in the world. Is there sustainability when these two wear down at the end of the year? And remember, to get into the playoffs, they almost lost to a Jets team that only scored 6 points. So that is the backdrop of what this team becomes in December and January. And they're acting in every offseason move with desperation. And it's kind of reeks off of their coach anyway, that he has to be the smartest person in the room. He has to look like he's in charge. And I just really, really look at this team being like, this guy's going to get fired, and he's going to give ashes as he burns the whole thing down on his way out. Because that's how I feel the Miami Dolphins are. And if they miss this run, and whenever Tyreek Hill gets hurt, the whole thing's going to implode. So I'm not rooting for him to get hurt. I just know that's not how you use him. The way that they're making him into a possession volume receiver. And speed's the first thing to go in the NFL, and just takes one shot to a knee from a safety, and boom, all that draft capital that just got sold, it never ever comes back.
I'm gonna put it to you straight right here. I think Miami is going to, if they have any picks left for next year, they're going to probably be drafting third. And here's why I say this. You
mean third overall?
Third overall.
Okay.
Here's why I say this. I don't think Houston's as bad as they are. I don't think Carolina is going to be as bad as they were this year. And I think that if you were going to talk who's going to draft number one overall, probably an unhealthy Arizona Cardinals. If they're unhealthy, that's probably going to be there's no movement on the Cardinals. They're just not put together really well. No. They got rid of their coach, which is good, but hopefully they can do better. Now, when we look at the Miami Dolphins, they are a team that has, and we've talked about this in our fantasy shows last year, their running game is so out of sorts. It's Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. And each of them are okay-ish in their own right. But you can't keep going back and forth between the two and deciding, okay, one game Raheem Mostert is going to be the bell cow the whole game. And then one game Jeff Wilson is going to be the bell cow the whole game. This is why. Your offensive line is sufficient. It's an offensive line in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's middle of the road.
You can't keep asking the offensive line to keep adjusting to different run styles in the way that they're asking this offensive line to do that. Mm-hmm. On a game-to-game basis, if my first job is to protect the quarterback, but I also have to think, how does Raheem Mostert like to run? How does Jeff Wilson like to run? The reason why bell cows are so good is because the offensive line knows what these players are going to do and does it, and they don't even have to think about it. When you ask an offensive lineman and to start thinking, and you can talk to offensive linemen, as they grow from high school to college to pros, they don't want to think. They just want to do the action that they were told to do. So if they're told that this is the block that I need to make, they're going to make the block, and they don't want to think about it. No NFL, the more I think about it in the NFL, the more time I have to make a mistake. And I'm already worried.
Well, I think you're saying it wrong, Bob. Your concept's correct. The thing that's the difference each step you go up is the amount of time that the defender stays on the block. So in the NFL, it's mostly a hit and then they spin off real quick. So the difference isn't necessarily the blocking scheme itself. It's I need to line up my contacts for my block at the right moment so the running back can cut through.
Yes.
And what you're saying is because the running backs don't come through at the same time, it's now, do I need to wait a half a second? And
exactly. I don't
waiting a half a second, did I lose?
Exactly.
That's the challenge.
That half second, like you just mentioned, is where the defensive player wins. And that half second that you screw up means the health of your quarterback. It means the health of your running back. Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, they're not the most healthy. They're pretty fragile guys. And you already got Tua back there that's concerned about a concussion. So he's going to be having the yips all year this year. He had him this year. He's going to have him next year too. That's not going to be solved yet. When you have a guy like Tua who has talent but now has these injury concerns, he doesn't trust it. And I'm positing this. I can't say with 100% certainty. But when you go in and your head coach has already laid you out to dry, you don't trust him. Your head coach didn't go out there and get you a running back. Your head coach didn't go out there and get you, guards. He went out there and was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm going to go out and get Jalen Ramsey. Miami's defense is bad. That's true. And it tails off like a lot of teams. It didn't get better as the season went on. It was, sufficient for a time. But you went out there and bought Jalen Ramsey. Why? Why did you spend that money on Jalen Ramsey? And why didn't you say, my best part of my team could potentially be my offense? I just went out there and got Tyreek Hill. I have Jalen Waddle, two of the best core wide receivers that you can possibly give a quarterback. And you didn't give you lost Mike Gesicki, who was a safety valve. You didn't upgrade that line at all in the ways that you needed to do it. Miami was the borderline playoff team last year. It ain't happening again this year because
they ended on that skid, right? They lost 7 out of 8 games.
That happened because Tua was healthy to start the year, and they won a couple of games at the beginning of the year. It's not happening. This team's bad, and for anybody that tells you that this team is good, go look at Tua last year. Go look, because this is the same exact team on offense. Tua
has one of, if not the greatest propensity to throw to 1/3 of the field, which is his left. And teams realize this, and the Jets put a perfect blueprint out there. We're just having our safety, forget about the middle of the field. He's just covering the left side. And when Tua doesn't have the first read, Tua gets sacked. And even listening to Collinsworth, who hating on people, he tries to spin anything as positive as he can. And what he said about him is, Tua's superpower is if someone's open, he can hit him the ball. That's as basic requirement as NFL can be for a quarterback. If someone's open, we give him the ball. He doesn't do read progressions at all. He just does not. And again, if Tyreek Hill loses a step, they don't have a safety valve. And when I look at this team, to use their 3rd round pick on a running back, to me was a wasted opportunity. I get that there was value there getting the one from A&M. The problem is that most of the problem with their running game is they stopped doing it themselves. Like, they think they're good like the Chiefs, and they can just throw their way to victory. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, you have the Chiefs' former speedster, but you don't have Mahomes. And to not have a tight end, really, on this roster, it's just a glaring mistake. Like, everything about this is what are you doing? It just looks like they're shiny objects, and that's what they want. And the mind-boggling part of this to me is he was contemplating retirement until 8 hours before the draft, and they didn't address quarterback in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
I get it. You already lost your 1st round pick because you were talking to Tom Brady. But did we figure out that we'll just have an intermediate talk to him now, and that's the real plan? We're going to let
Mike
Tua get
White's
his
the
head ripped
backup.
off in training camp, and then boom, Brady's
Mike White-
magically a Dolphin.
Mike White and Skylar Thompson are the backup. But I want to revisit this
Is
defense.
that Mike White's 40th team?
I believe so. I want to revisit this defense really quickly, and I want to get back to Jalen Ramsey. Now, a lot of the issues for Miami last year were due to injuries, and a lot of the issues for Miami were due to poor scheming.
They have a good secondary
and regression. Yeah, absolutely. Their secondary was built to stop Allen. Their secondary was built to stop quarterbacks going deep. But they had a terrible third down defense, and they had a terrible red zone defense. And so they didn't even do anything to address those things. So
they drafted a corner.
But
so what are we going to do? We're going to give it a corner to replace whenever Howard leaves. That's right. What they did.
But the corners weren't their problems. The
safeties
weren't their problems. They
needed an edge rusher.
That's why I said they're sufficient. That defense is sufficient for a period of time. But when you can't, and we've talked about it many, many times, when you can't generate anything off the edge, and you're leaving those cornerbacks on islands, or you're leaving those cornerbacks in zones. Okay, taking Jalen Ramsey, picking him up, great, fine. If you want to do that, go out and do it. But that is not how the Dolphins are going to win games this year. They're not going to win games through their secondary because quarterbacks are going to avoid the secondary. They've got Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. Despite Aaron Rodgers' tail off a little bit last year, these are two of the most intelligent quarterbacks in the league that are past. And I'm not going to mention Mac Jones, but, I
hope they get New England early in the year. And I hope New England runs it on 50 times.
Two of the smartest quarterbacks in the league that are going to purposely try to avoid those superstars. And Aaron Rodgers can do it. Josh Allen can do it. And if they run into Ramondre Stevenson, lights out. Good night, Miami. Yeah. Good night. Because I know
that might be the highest scoring Patriots game all year.
I know that New England's defense is good enough to stop that run, better than enough to stop the run. And I know it's going to try to match Tyreek Hill because they saw him last year, and Bill Belichick isn't going to get burned by Tyreek Hill twice.
Yeah. And Bob, I completely agree with you. And I know that people were yelling at me when I was saying Cleveland is the second best of all the teams that will finish in fourth. And they're like, how can you say Miami's going to finish fourth in this division? Tua. Very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a fact of the game. And the thing that I don't understand the most out of their offseason, it was all about going in for now. Win now, make it happen. And then when we get to the draft, it's all about we're going to replace the players that we're not going to be able to re-sign next year. Are you all in or not? What are we doing here?
It's so dumb. I can't with Miami. But out of all the teams that we've talked about so far, and all the teams we will talk about, they're one of the teams that I'm least excited for going into the year if I were a fan, because it is.
I love a good train wreck.
You have a lot of question marks, and I just don't. I don't see this team. And like I said, I will eat my words if Tua comes back healthy and does things. But even when he was healthy, this team isn't a very, very good team. So, you're looking at a team that would be lucky to have 4 wins. Lucky.
4 is really easy to do nowadays, though. They do play the Redskins. They are going to play the second place schedule, so that means they're going to play. Hell, Tennessee's going to run right through them. Even with Malik Willis as their quarterback. They're not built to beat their division. That's the starting point. The Jets in New England will be able to run through them. Sure, they have a defense that's designed to play the Bills. But there's a very good chance that if the Jets and New England get their running games going, it's not going to matter. So, yeah, they might beat the Bills and split with the Bills like they did last year, but they could easily get swept by the other two. And when you're starting 1-5 in your division, it's hard to make the playoffs with that. Rest of it going around.
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
already got a quarterback who's not in it. He's not in it. I mean, there's just the way it is. His heart's not there.
yeah.
So if he gets a hangnail injury in the middle of the year, is he coming back as quickly as he should? These are legitimate questions. And Bob, I'm 100% weak. I don't think that the answer's 4, but I know I'm putting money on their under. When we're talking about the win over under bets, I think this is the most overrated team in football. They have the most arrogant head coach in the league, and I love watching him fail.
Same.